Hi guys, welcome to this episode. Today I'm going to talk about the basics on a Canon 250D. Just some basic features that you might need to know when you're filming and photographing. Thanks for subscribing to all the people out there. I appreciate all the subscriptions that people have, and please comment on the videos and like and share. It would be super helpful for the channel. Appreciate all the love. Thank you very much. Anyway, so this is a Canon 250D, and I'm just going to switch the camera on. So if I switch it on, there we go, I've switched it on. Now when I switch it on, you will see, if I get this in focus, back there maybe, if I get this in focus, I am currently on auto mode, so it says auto. Okay, so if it says A+, that means it's an auto mode, and you can, if you want to select things, so this is touchscreen, so you can select it by clicking on the touchscreen buttons, and it'll allow you to sort of hover through various settings, which I find quite cool. So it's a little bit like a phone, to tell you the truth. So if you've ever used this, obviously most people nowadays have got smartphones, and you're kind of probably used to using these kind of features. So on this Canon 250D and also later versions as well, you can just literally click on these, like for example the 90D, and just select various things that you want. You've got a built-in flash, so you can select that auto, or select it, go back, go to drive mode. You can have like single shot, continuous burst mode. You can go to a 10-second delay, 2-second delay, and to another self timer, continuous 2-second delay. Okay. So that's in auto mode. So if I put it in manual mode, so if I go to M, so that you'll see the M, so I've just hovered it and put it on the M on the top, and it will say M on there. And if I press OK, here you've got all the different sort of basic settings that you need to know as a photographer or a videographer. So it's really important that you kind of understand aperture, shutter, and ISO. So again, if I click on this little icon here, so this little icon here, it'll take me to a live view, and if I click on that, it'll take me back to this LCD. Now old school people like me prefer to use this. New school people, like probably yourself that's watching this video, a young person maybe in the 20s, you'll probably prefer to use this. So let me demonstrate this first. All I did was click on that, and then click on that, and it took me to this screen here. So most new Canons and Canon cameras now have this kind of touch screen LCD screen. So if I click on this one here, I can move it in and out and change my shutter. Okay, so the more I sort of decrease it, obviously I'm shooting in a sort of classroom studio environment, and if I take it to say 30th of a second, you can see that the frame becomes lighter, and if I take it down to 500th of a second, obviously it's letting less light into the sensor, the shutter's taking longer to close, therefore it's a little bit darker. Okay, so people think, well, why is my picture so dark? It's because your shutter is closing very slowly, therefore letting a lot of light into your sensor, and therefore the image being overexposed. So if I click back on there and make a really quick shot of 1/30th of a second, you can clearly see that's a much quicker shutter, and there's a lot more light going through. So I'm going to select it on that. Your f-stop is your aperture within your camera. So obviously the bigger the opening, more light. The smaller the opening, less light going through. So if I click on the f-stop, so that's currently an f11. So if I take it to f5.6, so it's a smaller opening, less light's going through into the sensor. So if I go back to the Q button, so what I did is if I click back on there again, and I clicked on basically this 10-second delay. Oh, sorry, I've done it again. Sorry. Now it's going to go. Now, if you obviously make a scenario like this, you got to let it go through, and it does its thing, and then takes a picture, and there you go. Now, what I want to do is I want to take that off. So if I go to my Q button here and click on the 10-second delay and put no delay, now there's no delay on this. So if I click here, go back again, so go back here, and if I sort of press my screen there, it will focus here. If I click here, it will focus there. Okay, so let me demonstrate this. I'm going to put a little object maybe to show you what I mean. So I'm going to put an object maybe about here. Okay, so I'm in frame, so there's my object, and I'm going to try to get this in focus. Okay, so Okay, so I've got a little object now. I think you can just about see it. So if I click on this object, it will now focus into that object. So you can also do that with film, and it will allow you to sort of pivot through to the two things in terms of focusing on those two things. Okay, so I've talked about aperture, talked about shutter, exposure compensation. Quite straightforward. You can increase and decrease your exposure compensation to get more exposure or less exposure onto your frame. Go back again. You've got ISO. So ISO on this particular model goes all the way up to, I think, 256,000. Now obviously if I take it all the way, you can see that the whole screen is starting to become white. So too much, obviously, sensitivity of light. You know, cameras do work with light sensitivity, so therefore you can see that it's overexposed, and it's, you know, there's too much sensitivity of light. I tend to leave my ISO on auto on most days. I just feel like these cameras nowadays do such a decent job with ISO correction that you don't necessarily need to change that. So it's up to you. You can play around with it, increase and decrease it depending on your light content and light source wherever you are. If you're in a studio, you might want to probably play around with it a little bit. If you're outdoors, you're probably better off just leaving it on auto. And professional photographers are like, what are you saying? But you know, these cameras are so super powerful these days that, you know, the camera does do a lot of the work for you. You know, there's a lot of features on these cameras, and some of them you'll never ever use. You know, in my sort of kind of experience of filming and photography, I tend to just change the aperture, shutter, exposure compensation, and maybe the ISO when I need it. And when I'm doing sort of sports photography, I might go into the, you know, sort of kind of this setting and put the continuous burst mode, file size. I might click on file size, and I might change it to a medium size if I'm going to take hundreds and hundreds of pictures. You know, your white balance, again, something that you can play around with. If you want a more blue tint to your image, you want a more warmer tint. So this one's got more of a bluer feel. So if you're shooting in sort of really hard light on a sunny day, you might want to turn it onto, give it a blue tint. So when you take it into post, it will be a bit more better to edit, shall I say? But again, that's entirely up to you. You know, so if I go back to that menu again, click on the Q button, go to my white balance, I just tend to leave that on auto as well, okay? Because you know, the cameras do those things for you very well. There is a histogram here, as you can see. So I've taken another picture, and that histogram is just telling you the density of color and exposure within a frame. So this frame isn't quite, there's more light source, I think, suppose here, and that's because there's a window behind me, and it's capturing all that light source from that point of view. Okay, all right, guys. I feel like a quick, easy demo. I don't know. Maybe it was more of an advanced one. Any comments, please do post. I do appreciate people sort of commenting on videos, whether they're good or bad. Comments are comments. Please like, subscribe, share this channel, and comment. Please comment. I really do appreciate comments from you guys. Any comments that you do make do help me to make content and to make videos that are gonna be useful for you guys in your daily lives as a photographer, videographer. I mainly make techie demo videos, and I'm looking to make other types of videos, so please do comment on what other content I can make, because anything that you guys say really helps me to make stuff, because sometimes I can't think of anything, to tell you the truth. So please do comment and share. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye bye.